All right. Welcome back to the Magic Makers podcast. I'm your host, Jason DeRocha, Vice President at Sportball. My guest today is a longtime friend and colleague at Sportball. He's a multi-unit franchise owner, the one and only Matt Pearce. Matt, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. It's very much appreciated.
Yes, sir. So, Matt, I don't think I've ever asked you this question. How did you first hear of Sportball? How did this first hit your radar?
Yeah, quite by accident. I was marketing major out of university, and I was working in the pharma industry. And my boss and mentor at the time just started looking at franchising and wanted to bring franchises into the province of Quebec, where I'm from. And it was on his radar. And I've said. Ever since then, I've kind of said it's the happiest accident that's ever happened to me. I never once thought of a career in coaching kids, even in rec and leisure. It just wasn't on my radar whatsoever. Despite having played sports all my life and being a sports nut, and I went through all the minor systems and everything. But yeah, it was really by accident. So I'm very grateful for stumbling upon it.
And so, how many years now has it been for you? I guess within the company and then as a franchise owner?
Brian brought the franchise to Quebec in 2010, so it's been 16 years. And he kind of brought me on board kind of to climb the ladder. First, I was the coach, and then I was the coach, the coaches, and then I coached the coaches. And it was really a steady and progressive path throughout. And then ultimately, Brian decided to leave the business in 2019, right at the end of the year. So December 31st, 2019, I acquired the business from him. And then 2 months later, the pandemic hit, which is another story altogether. But I mean, ever since then, it's been...
And so if you don't mind, obviously you're a multi-unit owner. Maybe just talk a little bit about the territories that are within your portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, before I bought Brian out, which was the province of Quebec, I ended up buying Winnipeg in 2018. And part of that was I knew that I wanted to do something more long-term and bigger and better with Sportball. So Winnipeg was a bit of a litmus test for me to see if I could be an owner-operator remotely. And once I was able to kind of prove that method out, I decided, all right, well, the next logical acquisition would be, in Quebec. Then, further to that, in 2024, started launching in Boston, which was always part of my goal to go down to the New England area. I've got family down there and spent some time there as a young man, and we go to Cape Cod every summer. So Boston was always on my my radar, and then did some additional acquisitions last year in Ottawa and some other territories. So continue to grow. Don't think we're done yet. I do, like what we're doing, like what we're building, like what we're scaling.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been my journey.
I was just in Boston for the last 3 days for the Project Play conference, and they're just doing some really amazing things in the U.S. Project Play is a conference that was put on by the Aspen Institute. They have this wonderful initiative now. It's called the 6330 Initiative. They want 63% of all children in the U.S. to be playing some form of sports by 2030. Can you talk a little bit about how you've expanded in Boston and some of the municipalities that you're working out of?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually kind of circling the city bit by bit. We've got some city partners in Danvers and Burlingtons that are coming up this fall, as well as a few others kind of circling the city. And then we're going to kind of go into the city bit by bit after that. But in the meantime, we've actually started to reach out to daycare partners and preschools. So that's kind of on the educational business unit that our main focus in terms of in the city. But yeah, we're expansion through city partners and educational partners, whether it's daycares or preschools, and eventually we will go into the grade school system, the public school system as well. It's been a very systematic approach, but we're starting to really get some success, and we're really excited about all the markets, but Boston specifically.
Absolutely. Yeah, I planted a lot of seeds for you out there at Project Play, so I'm looking forward to seeing you take advantage of that. Can you talk a little bit about, you've been in the game for 16 years, both from a coach perspective, so frontline, all the way to operation. If you don't mind, maybe just kind of talk through what your journey has been like from coach to business owner, and what were some of the pain points, the challenges, and some of the things that just made you feel like this is what you wanted to do, as a profession?
So I remember it was July 2010 when we first did the training. I knew what I was signing up for on paper, but in terms of being in the class and seeing it and coaching, didn't quite know what I was signing up for. My wife definitely didn't know what I was signing up for, but she was on board, which was great. I think once you have a comfort level in class, and some people instantaneously have it, I really do think that coaching kids, especially young kids, it really is the most rewarding job in the world for some people. And I just happen to be one of those people. I think there are other people where if you were to take them out of a business setting or a class setting and then put them in front of a group of 4-year-olds, it would be absolute torture. But it really is the best job in the world for some people. And to this day, when I see a kid, finally hit a ball or shoot a ball or bounce a ball or kick a ball, like that's awesome. It's
Yeah.
amazing to see it, and it's very rewarding. So it's a very intrinsically rewarding job at the coaching level, and I think the more you can climb the ladder and scale it, you might lose a bit of the day-to-day natural reward, but your impact really can be bigger as well. So instead of focusing on coaching 10 kids, you're focusing on coaching 10,000 kids. And
so, obviously there's challenges with every business, as you alluded to. There's red tape, as you said. Can you talk to some of the challenges that you have faced in this business in particular that may be unique to Sportball, and how you've overcome those?
I think the biggest, earliest challenge we faced, or it might even have been a mistake, is I think we probably stayed in the weeds a little too long. So we probably didn't focus on scaling early enough. Now, the good side of that is you really get to know the business. If you spend a lot of time in the day to day, then every challenge possible kind of gets put in front of you and you face it. So we probably could have scaled a little quicker in hindsight. It's risk reward. Uniquely Sportball, um, yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know. I think if you are servicing your customers correctly, then everything kind of falls into place, and there will always be curveballs along the way. But we really do try to put our customers first, and that has kind of eliminated a lot of the headaches, to be honest.
Yeah, the service industry, I think when you put customers first, you put your staff, your coaches first.
Yeah.
I think that the rewards come very quickly. I think the hard part, the challenges obviously is if you get it right, half the time when you're hiring and training, you're ahead of the game. They say, at Sportball, it seems that we do seem to be attracting people that genuinely love what they do. So when you do have a coach that signs up to Sportball, they love when they're here. Is there anything that you do that you ensure retention of your own employees and then of your customers? Just talk about how you keep your employees and your customers.
So in terms of employees, I think we're very fortunate in the sense that because the job is so intrinsically rewarding, those that do love it are happy to stay. We've had Pablo working for us for 15 years, and he still loves his Saturday mornings, and he's happy to go up and do it because he enjoys, even though he's got a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, he still enjoys his Saturday mornings. In that sense, it's naturally. Now, as an employer, there's lots of things you could do. I think open communication and try to be flexibility with students and their schedules, and whether it means exams or vacation and so on. Now, within limits, I think just being receptive to employees' needs, I think is main. And I think constant touch points as well. So we have a management team that is constantly in contact with the coaches. Hey, how did it go? Do you need anything? Any feedback? Any problem? What'd you like about the class, and so on. So on a weekly basis, after every kind of group of classes, we're getting feedback from the coaches, and I think communication there is key. And I think same is probably the answer on the customer side. We give surveys after the first class, after the third class. I mean, we're constantly getting feedback from our clients saying, hey, if there is a problem, then we want to know about it. Ideally, we don't want there to be a problem, but if the class isn't meeting expectations, we do care about it.
If you don't mind, maybe talk a little bit about what it is that you want your coaches to focus on when parents are in the gym with their little ones, and then what is the focus in terms of your training of your coaches? Like, well, how do you want them to deliver that Sportball experience?
So, in terms of definitely communication, I know I kind of said it in the last answer, but we do want them to be talking to the parents, get to know the parents. Even it's as simple as why did you sign up to class, and what are your goals, and so on. And I do think relationship building is key in terms of the relationship between the coach and the parent. What the parents kind of take away as they leave Sportball and go into different competitive environments. I hope that it's a well-rounded approach that maybe little Billy doesn't need to specialize in football yet. Maybe working on different skills, they can see those benefits. And I think even if you ask the top of the top elite athletes, they'll tell you that no, I'm a great football player because I played baseball, and I'm a great soccer player because I played tennis, and so on. So I think a lot of those transferable skills. And on the physical side or the competitive side, we actually see a lot of the Sportball kids when they leave us and go into organized sports We've had some associations kind of group those sport ball kids together because they know the basics. They know how to run, jump, and listen, and are already kind of used to that group sport setting a little bit. So that might be an added bonus a little bit, but yeah, I think relationships, communication, those are all key. And what's interesting too is some of these kids we see at 2, 3, 4 years old, and then you might not see them for a couple of years, and the parents will remember you. The kids won't necessarily remember Coach Matt or Coach Jay, but they definitely will remember sport ball and how it made them feel. So that impact, even though they might be too young to remember everything, they definitely remember the feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. So Matt, what's the? I mean, you have 4 kids, you have multiple units. What's the vision? What are you trying to build here at Sportball, and what's your long-term vision?
Yeah, so I think long term is really just to keep growing the impact across Canada and the U.S. and the more kids that we can get active, the better. From a business point of view, the more markets you can get into, the more attractive it is from a business point of view as well. So that's it. I think that's 5 kids at home. I actually
Sorry, 5. Yeah, I forgot you have a full starting line.
Yeah. But it might be something that gives them opportunities. I've got my eldest is coaching. She's actually been coaching for this is going to be her 3rd summer. My second son is going to be starting this year, and it gives them a career path as well, as they kind of go through high school and then university and so on. So it gives them an opportunity.
Yeah, I love that, Matt. That's really cool. What are some of the lessons, as a coach, that you learned that you apply to other aspects of your life?
Just simple classroom management techniques and how to interact with kids and teach kids, and to so I definitely as a first time parent didn't necessarily feel I don't think the normal kind of stress and anxiety or worries that you might feel. I kind of felt like, oh, I got this. I think the other lesson that I could say that kids and the parents maybe lose this as we go older, they definitely let things go a lot quicker as well. They are able to reset a lot quicker, and sometimes I think parents, I don't want to say hold grudges, but we remember and so on, whereas kids easily just remember the good and forget about the bad. So that's probably a nice way to put it.
Yeah, you're right. Kids can get over things pretty quickly with a great coach that can get them there. The other thing I think that I've taken away, obviously you and I have been in this game for a very long time together as colleagues. And I remember when I was coaching, the one thing that I always admired about kids was that they were fully present. It doesn't matter what happened outside that class or where they're going next. Like when they're there, they're in the zone. They just want to play with you and they're completely there. And I think we're in a space now where we have so many distractions. Parents are always distracted, whether it's a phone or something they have to do later. And I think that it's such a great reminder that when you're in that moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the way our classes are structured lends to that. I think storytelling as a classroom management technique really allows kids to become captivated and really kind of get fully invested into the class. And I think also just the positivity of it all. I think parents are often telling their kids no, and oftentimes that's a sign of love. Can I have ice cream for dinner? No, of course not. Like you can't. But in school and daycare settings, sometimes you hear no too much, and in situations where you don't have to hear no. So our coach is being positive and framing things in positive language, and really still getting the best out of the kids, and keeping a well-structured, safe environment while being positive and saying yes.
Well said. Very well said. Well, Matt, I can't thank you enough for getting on these calls. Listen, I know this isn't your cup of tea being on video like this and recording, but we've been friends for a really long time and colleagues for a really long time. I have so much respect for everything that you've created. I've learned so much from you over the years.
Mutual, Jay. So I very much appreciate it. And I'm happy to do this.
Thanks, buddy. All right. Thanks, everybody.